A shaking camera flickers to life, its timestamp dated October 19th, 2025. The voice of a young man trembles through static. "If you find this, don't come here." His breath fogs the lens, and behind him, the forest looms like a black ocean of trees. The footage cuts, then reopens inside a dim ranger station where three hunters unpack their gear, laughing nervously. Ethan Ward points the lens toward an old wall map, marked with red circles, locations where hunters disappeared. Maya Torres brushes away cobwebs from a rusted radio and murmurs, "Why did every camera shut off that night?" Outside, wind howls. The door creaks, though no one's there. The air feels alive, like the forest itself is breathing with them. A faded wanted-style notice catches the light. "Missing persons, last seen." Black Hollow. Then, a whisper. Faint, feminine, and impossibly close. Repeats Ethan's name. He spins the camera toward the doorway, and for a single frame, something pale moves between the trees. "What if the creature isn't hunting us?" Ethan mutters. "What if it's warning us?" Morning fog rolls low across the forest floor as the trio hikes deeper into Black Hollow. The sound of crunching leaves and breath fills the mic. Ethan documents everything, narrating in half-whisper. "These are the same coordinates from the footage. This is where they disappeared." Maya glances behind them often, her unease growing. Chris jokes, but even his voice feels hollow. The deeper they go, the quieter the woods become. Not even birds dare call here. Night falls. A small fire crackles at the heart of their camp. Ethan films as Maya recounts a legend that the caller mimics lost voices to draw travelers off paths. Chris scoffs, but the tension in his eyes betrays belief. Ethan admits his brother vanished here 10 years ago. The fire pops, a sound like laughter. The camera catches their faces in flashes of orange light and shadow. Maya wakes first, camera still recording. A voice calls softly through the mist, Ethan's voice, but Ethan is asleep beside her. The whisper repeats, closer now. She points the lens toward the trees, trembling. A shape moves through the fog, matching Ethan's outline perfectly before dissolving. She wakes him in panic. He hears nothing. The forest falls silent again. Later that day, they discover a narrow trail winding deeper into the forest, lined with strange wooden totems. Some are carved into faces, others made of bone and feather. Ethan notes, "These weren't here before." The air thickens. Maya touches one. The camera glitches. A distant voice hums a broken tune, like someone trying to remember a lullaby. The forest no longer feels empty. As dusk bleeds into night, a voice drifts through the trees, soft, deliberate, calling Ethan's name. The camera light flickers across trunks slick with moisture. Maya whispers, "That was you, right?" But Ethan shakes his head, face pale. The voice comes again, same tone, same breath, but farther away. They follow it until their compass begins spinning in circles. Chris curses, realizing they've walked back to their own footprints. Then the voice changes. It says, "Help me," Ethan's brother's voice. Every sound of the woods dies out, as if the forest itself is holding its breath. The next morning they find a tree covered in carvings, hundreds of claw-like etchings spiraling upward like ancient writing. Maya runs her fingers across the grooves. They're fresh. Ethan films close-ups zooming on initials etched deeper than the rest. E.W., his brother's initials. "Someone's been here recently," Maya whispers. Chris mutters, or something. Wind stirs the leaves and a faint hum resonates through the bark, low and mournful. The carvings seem to move under the shifting light, rearranging like the forest is alive and rewriting its own story. Inside their tent, the group reviews the footage from the previous night. Static fills the screen. Then, laughter. Soft, distorted, childlike. It echoes their own voices, repeating fragments of their conversations out of order. Maya freezes the frame, Behind them, in the reflection of a lens, a fourth figure stands, motionless and tall. Ethan replays it, slower this time, until the figure's head turns toward the camera before the feed cuts. The tent flaps rustle, though no wind blows. Chris whispers, "We're not alone, man. That thing's watching us through our own damn lens." Night deepens. The forest begins to mimic them. Every snapped twig echoes twice. Every word they speak comes back slightly delayed, warped. Maya records as Chris yells into the darkness, "Who's out there?" Seconds later, his own voice shouts back. Identical. Panic ripples through them. Ethan tries to keep them calm, but the forest repeats his every reassurance, only twisted, like it's learning to speak through them. They huddle near the fire as whispers weave through the wind, reciting fragments of Ethan's journal entries, words he is never re-allowed. By dawn, Chris is gone. His rifle and pack lie beside the extinguished fire. Ethan plays back the night's footage. Chris had followed something into the trees. The camera shows him turning toward a whisper, calling his name. Then nothing but darkness and the faint sound of breathing. Maya breaks down, insisting they leave, but Ethan refuses. "He's still alive," he says. "I heard him." The forest groans like it's shifting around them, rearranging its roots. As they pack, a voice drifts through the air. Chris's voice, distant, calm, and beckoning. Ethan kneels by a shallow creek, scraping at something half buried in the mud. The lens catches the glint of metal, an old camcorder, rusted, its label faded. Maya hovers behind him, whispering that they should leave it, but Ethan wipes the mud off the lens, determined. When he opens the screen, it powers on for a moment, showing a frozen frame. Hunters from years ago, standing where they now stand. The image trembles, and a distorted figure flickers behind them before the screen dies. Water ripples beside Ethan's knees, though there's no wind. Maya murmurs, "This place remembers." That night, inside the tent, the old camcorder whirs to life. The footage is grainy, filmed by a group of hunters from a decade ago. Their voices are panicked, heavy breathing, snapping twigs, then silence. Suddenly the camera swings upward, showing a figure crawling through the branches above them, white eyes reflecting the light. Ethan and Maya stare at the playback, horrified. The creature moves like smoke with bones. Then the screen flashes static, and a whisper slips through the speaker. "I see you." The old footage freezes on a frame that mirrors their current camp setup exactly. The following morning, Ethan follows a strange trail. Small piles of bones arranged like arrows pointing deeper into the woods. Maya pleads for them to turn back, but he pushes forward, filming every detail. "If this is what took my brother," he says, "I need to see it." The forest grows darker, the canopy swallowing the sun. The bones grow larger, more deliberate, some tied together with old fishing line. Then they reach a clearing where the soil is blackened, as if burned long ago. Maya whispers, "This isn't random. It's a warning." At dusk, they set up camp near the blackened clearing. Ethan reviews the new footage, but the sound is wrong. The forest hums under every word, a deep, subsonic vibration. Maya presses her ear to the ground. "It's not the wind," she says. From beneath the soil comes a chorus of faint voices, whispering names, dozens of them. Ethan drops his camera in shock as his own name rises among the murmurs. They back away, trembling, as the earth shifts like it's breathing. Something below is listening. That night, rain pours in sheets. Lightning flashes over their soaked tents. A voice calls out through the storm, "Ethan! Ethan!" It's Chris. Ethan grabs his flashlight and rushes into the downpour. The beam catches a figure standing in the distance. Chris, drenched, motionless, smiling strangely. Maya screams for Ethan to stop. The man in the rain tilts his head at an unnatural angle, eyes white, mouth opening as if to speak. But the voice that comes out isn't Chris. It's Ethan's own, perfectly mimicked, whispering, "Don't leave me here." Morning comes slow and gray. Rain still drips from the trees as Ethan and Maya trudge through the soaked forest, following what looks like an ancient trail carved into the hillside. The ground is marked by deep-clawed gouges and wooden totems, strung with bones. Ethan films in silence. Maya's voice trembles. Someone built these to keep people out? The forest grows eerily symmetrical. Trees forming unnatural rows, moss glowing faintly where light touches it. They reach a wooden arch wrapped in animal hides. Something carved above it reads, "Return what was taken." Ethan hesitates. Then he steps through. Beyond the arch lies a hollow space where trees grow in perfect circles. At its center stands a wooden shrine, crude, human-shaped, coated in moss. The air smells of iron and decay. Ethan films close-ups of the effigy while Maya scans the ground. Dozens of small animal skulls arranged around it like offerings. Then she notices something new. Fresh blood smeared along the wood. "This isn't ancient," she whispers. "It's recent." Thunder rumbles in the distance. The forest seems to inhale, and for a moment, every sound vanishes. Then, from behind them, something moves. They flee the shrine, stumbling down the muddy trail. Maya suddenly stops, pointing at the ground. Footprints, deep, bare, and impossibly large, pressed into the wet soil. They follow them cautiously until the prints split into two sets, one leading forward, one circling behind them. Ethan swings the camera around. Behind them, another pair of prints forms in real time, step by step, with no body attached. The sound of breathing echoes through the trees, too close to belong to anything invisible. Ethan whispers, "It's following us." Night falls before they find shelter. Ethan sets the camera facing the trees while Maya tends the small fire. Then, a familiar silhouette emerges beyond the flames. Chris. He stands motionless at the edge of the light, soaked, his eyes reflecting orange. "Chris," Ethan calls softly. The figure tilts its head, smiling in a way that isn't human. Its shadow stretches unnaturally long across the forest floor, bending around trees. The thing whispers Ethan's name using Chris' voice, but underneath it, a dozen others whisper in unison. Maya screams and the figure vanishes, leaving footprints smoldering in the dirt. Shaken and sleepless, they keep moving until dawn. The trail ends at the roots of a colossal tree, wider than a cabin, its bark black and glistening with sap. At its base lies a wooden door, half buried, built directly into the roots. Ethan brushes away, soil to reveal carvings identical to the symbols from the shrine. Maya pleads for him not to open it. "This is what it's guarding," he says, voice low. He lifts the latch. A deep breath escapes from inside, like air rushing out of lungs long sealed. Then, the whisper returns, surrounding them, louder than ever. "You shouldn't have come back." Ethan pushes the door open and a pale light spills out, pulsing like something alive. A tunnel spirals downward beneath the tree, lined with wooden supports etched in symbols. The air hums with a low vibration, neither wind nor voice, something older. Maya grips his arm, whispering, "It's breathing." As they descend, the light grows warmer, redder, until it becomes almost blinding. The tunnel ends in a vast underground chamber, its walls alive with roots that glow faintly like veins. In the center, a massive heart-like shape pulses inside the earth, its rhythm syncing with Ethan's own heart. They emerge into an immense cavern. Hanging from the ceiling are hundreds of antlers strung together like wind chimes, swaying in slow rhythm. Beneath them stands a stone altar covered in bones, human and animal, fused together by roots. Ethan approaches, filming, whispering, "This is it. This is what they built to contain it." Maya finds an old camera buried in the dirt near the altar. Its screen cracked. She wipes it clean, presses play. Static, then faint chanting. The recording shows the same cavern, decades ago, with hunters bowing toward the glowing heart in the wall. The footage cuts to black as the chanting turns to screams. A new sound fills the chamber, a chorus of whispers rising from the walls, hundreds of overlapping voices repeating the same phrase. Return what was taken. Ethan backs away, camera trembling in his grip. Maya presses her hands over her ears, but the words echo inside her skull. What did we take? She shouts. The lights dim as the heart's glow fades to black. Ethan realizes the whispers aren't speaking to them. They're speaking through them. The sound turns into a distorted imitation of his own voice, whispering. It remembers who took him. Ethan moves closer to the glowing mass embedded in the rock. He brushes away soil, revealing something beneath the roots. A skull fused into the heart's surface. A human skull. Maya gasps as more shapes emerge. Dozens, maybe hundreds, all half swallowed by roots. It's not guarding something, she says in a trembling whisper. It's becoming something. Ethan kneels, whispering, My brother's in there. The ground quakes. The roots tighten, veins pulsing faster. From the darkness, a distorted version of his brother's voice answers, You shouldn't have come. The cavern begins to shake violently. Roots whip through the air, tearing through stone. Maya screams as one snatches her leg, dragging her toward the heart. Ethan drops the camera, clawing at the roots, shouting her name. The glowing heart bursts open, flooding the space with blinding red light. For a moment, the walls ripple like flesh. From within the opening, something emerges. Tall, pale, its body made of bone and wood, its face shifting between human and animal forms. It speaks in Ethan's voice and his brother's voice at once. You took from the hollow. Now it takes from you. Nurse. The light dies, leaving only darkness and the echo of rushing air. Ethan wakes on the cavern floor, his head pounding. The chamber is still again, as though the storm never happened. Maya sits nearby, trembling, staring at the heart, now silent, cracked open and dry. It's over, she whispers, voice shaking. Ethan nods. But something feels wrong. Her tone, her rhythm, it's slightly off. When she blinks, her pupils flicker white for a fraction of a second. Maya? He whispers. She smiles too slowly. You're safe now, she says in a voice that doesn't sound entirely hers. Ethan turns on his camera again. The playback shows him whispering to Maya, but her lips aren't moving. Her reflection in the camera, lens smiles independently, a split-second delay between motion and sound. Ethan slowly lowers the camera, heart pounding. Say something, he murmurs. Maya tilts her head, her voice now layered, two tones speaking in unison. You already did. The cavern hums again, faintly, as though the forest itself is tuning to her voice. Ethan steps back, horrified. The creature isn't just mimicking them, it's learning to become them. Ethan flees up the tunnel, dragging Maya behind him as light from above breaks through. The forest air feels heavy and electric. Every sound, rustling leaves, bird calls, even their footsteps, comes back in echo, perfectly delayed. They reach the surface clearing, but the world looks subtly wrong. The trees are positioned differently, thicker, closer. Maya collapses near the archway, gasping for breath. Ethan kneels beside her. But when she opens her eyes, she says, I've been waiting for you to come back. Her voice is Ethan's. Ethan runs. Behind him, footsteps match his own perfectly, not chasing, mirroring. When he stops, they stop. The air ripples. He spins and sees himself standing a few meters away, identical down to the torn sleeve and bloodied cheek. The double smiles, holding an identical camera. You found it, it says. The voice is his, but hollow. Now it finds you. The forest darkens, as though the sun has dimmed. The trees twist, their bark reshaping into faces, some familiar, some not. The echo of Ethan's own breathing grows louder until it's all he hears. Hours later, the recovered footage shows Ethan alone, walking through the forest with the camera still rolling. His voice is soft, distant. If anyone finds this, it's not me anymore. He glances toward the lens, eyes unfocused, whispering something inaudible before smiling faintly. Then another Ethan steps into frame beside him. Same clothes, same face, both smiling now. The second one looks directly into the camera and says, "We told you not to come back." The image glitches, splitting into dozens of frozen frames before cutting to black. Months later in spring, a park ranger named Daniel Harker, 37 male, hikes through Black Hollow to reopen the area after years of closure. The forest feels strangely still, the air too quiet, the light too dim. He finds remnants of an old campsite, torn tents, rusted lanterns, and a broken camera half buried in mud. Curious, he takes it back to his truck. That night, at the ranger station, he plays the footage. Static fills the screen, then a face flickers through, Ethan's whispering, "It's watching." The feed cuts to black. Behind Daniel, outside the window, something moves in the reflection. Tall, still, and watching. The next morning, Daniel returns to the site to mark the location. The forest has changed overnight. Trails are gone, replaced by new growth and unfamiliar paths. He radios dispatch, but static answers him. As he hikes deeper, the woods become deathly silent. No birds, no insects. The moss beneath his boots pulses faintly, like it's breathing. He checks his compass. It spins wildly. "Okay," he mutters, forcing a laugh, but then he hears something else. His own voice calling his name from somewhere behind him. Slow, calm, familiar. Daniel. Daniel stumbles upon an old wooden sign half consumed by roots. Black Hollow restricted. Beneath it, he discovers several SD cards sealed in a waterproof case. He pockets them, unaware that faint whispers bleed from the headphones clipped to his belt. Fragments of Ethan's last words, looping quietly. Don't trust the voice. When Daniel plays the recordings later, they show brief moments, flickers of faces in the dark, echoes of laughter, and a voice deeper than any human, repeating. It remembers who came here. His breathing quickens. Something behind the camera breathes with him. The station lights flicker. Daniel checks the generator, but it's fine. The temperature drops suddenly. His breath turns white. From outside, a faint humming starts, rising like distant singing. He grabs his flashlight and steps into the fog. The forest glows faintly red between the trees. A voice calls out, "Ethan." Then, Maya, and finally, Daniel. Each name echoes closer, until he realizes it's coming from every direction at once. The flashlight flickers, and in that brief moment of darkness, dozens of faces appear in the mist, mouths open, whispering in unison. Return what was taken. The final recovered footage begins abruptly, Daniel's camera lying on the ground, tilted upward toward the treetops. Wind howls softly. Footsteps crunch nearby, then stop. A shadow falls over the lens. For a few seconds, a faint reflection appears. The shape of Ethan, older, eyes hollow, standing beside Daniel. Both stare directly into the camera before turning toward the forest. The recording shakes, fades to static, and then one last line of audio slips through the distortion. It's still here. The frame freezes on the fog, and for an instant, two white eyes open in the darkness.